Introduction of Thomas Piketty and Capital in the 21st Century. Thomas Piketty is a renowned French economist, who serves as a professor at the Paris School of Economics. Born in 1971, he has gained high acclaim for his historical and theoretical research on wealth and income distribution. His seminal work, Capital in the 21st Century, was published in France in 2013 and has since garnered significant attention worldwide. Nobel laureate Paul Krugman has praised this book as the most important economics book of the year, and perhaps of the decade. Capital in the 21st Century provides a detailed analysis of the historical transitions in capital and income inequality, using graphs and statistical data to make its content accessible. Despite its substantial length of over 700 pages, the book is designed to be understandable, even to readers without specialized knowledge of economics. Piketty emphasizes a crucial point in his book. When the rate of return on capital R exceeds the economic growth rate G, wealth concentration intensifies, and economic inequality expands. This principle has consistently held true historically, and Piketty argues that there are no natural mechanisms to reduce this inequality. Moreover, Piketty proposes the introduction of a progressive capital tax, arguing that this is the most effective method to address economic inequality. A progressive capital tax involves annual taxation on capital, with higher rates applied to those with higher incomes, thereby promoting wealth redistribution. Thus, Capital in the 21st Century serves as a vital reference for many readers, providing insights into the problem of economic inequality in modern society, and exploring potential solutions. History and current state of economic inequality. Economic inequality has always existed throughout history. Piketty points out that the relationship between the rate of return on capital R and the economic growth rate G is a primary factor driving economic inequality. According to his analysis, historically, the rate of return on capital has always exceeded the economic growth rate, leading to wealth concentration. In the 20th century, economic inequality temporarily decreased due to the impacts of 2 world wars and economic crises. However, these events were exceptions, and the fundamental law of RG continued to apply. During the post-World War II period of rapid economic growth, the high growth rates temporarily curbed the expansion of inequality. Nevertheless, from the latter half of the 20th century into the 21st century, growth rates have slowed, and wealth concentration has resumed. Modern economic inequality is particularly pronounced in developed countries. For example, in the United States, the top 1% of wealthy individuals own about 40% of the nation's wealth, and this proportion is expected to increase. Such wealth concentration exacerbates social inequality and poses threats to economic stability. Piketty highlights several reasons for the deepening of economic inequality, including technological innovation and globalization. These factors favor high-skill workers and capital owners, widening the gap between them and low-skill workers and those without capital. Additionally, Piketty analyzes the broader societal impacts of economic inequality. The expansion of inequality can increase social unrest and political instability, potentially hindering economic growth. Thus, addressing economic inequality is not just an ethical issue, but is also crucial for achieving sustainable economic growth. Understanding the history and current state of economic inequality is the first step toward solving the challenges facing modern society. Wealth concentration and its impact. Wealth concentration is one of the most evident manifestations of economic inequality. According to Piketty's research, the inequality in capital ownership has always existed, historically, significantly impacting society as a whole. Particularly, the concentration of capital among the top 1% or 10% poses risks to economic stability and social equity. The capital-income ratio beta is a critical indicator for measuring wealth concentration. This ratio, which divides a nation's capital stock by its annual income flow, indicates the level of capital concentration. Piketty's research shows that this ratio, in developed countries, ranges between 5 and 6, a historically high level. Wealth concentration affects the overall economy in various ways. As capital concentration progresses, the income derived from capital also becomes concentrated among a few wealthy individuals, exacerbating income inequality. This leads to unequal consumption patterns and can hinder healthy economic growth. Additionally, wealth concentration often translates into concentrated political influence, threatening the principles of democracy. Piketty also details the societal impacts of wealth concentration. He argues that as wealth concentration progresses, social mobility decreases, making it difficult for individuals to move between social classes. This results in harsher living conditions for the poor and middle classes, destabilizing society as a whole. Moreover, wealth concentration can lead to unequal access to basic services, like education and healthcare. This perpetuates social inequality across generations, and can hinder long-term economic growth. Addressing wealth concentration requires comprehensive measures, and Piketty's proposal of a progressive capital tax is a notable solution. Proposals to resolve economic inequality. To solve the issue of economic inequality, Thomas Piketty proposes the introduction of a progressive capital tax. This tax involves annual taxation on capital, with higher rates applied to those with significant wealth, promoting wealth redistribution. This measure is seen as an effective way to curb wealth concentration and enhance economic stability and fairness. Piketty's proposed progressive capital tax includes specific rates: 0.1% to 0.5% for net assets below €1 million, 1% for assets between €1 million and €5 million, 2% for assets between €5 million and €10 million, and 5% to 10% for assets exceeding several hundred million euros. By setting tax rates progressively based on asset size, wealth concentration can be effectively controlled. The introduction of a progressive capital tax not only increases tax revenue, but also reduces economic inequality across society, promoting sustainable economic growth. This tax system facilitates wealth redistribution, enhancing social stability and fairness. Furthermore, a progressive capital tax demands fair contributions from high-income earners and capital owners, fostering social solidarity. However, there are challenges to implementing a progressive capital tax. Firstly, international cooperation is essential without coordinated tax systems across countries. Capital movement and tax evasion risks arise. Thus, international agreements and cooperation are crucial, along with political will from each country. Additionally, implementing a progressive capital tax requires high financial transparency. This includes automatic sharing of banking information and accurate tracking of asset ownership to prevent asset concealment and tax evasion. While Piketty acknowledges the difficulties in implementing a progressive capital tax, he still argues that it is the most effective method to address economic inequality. He believes in the power of democracy and emphasizes that international cooperation to implement a progressive capital tax is a vital step in maintaining a healthy capitalist system in the 21st century. Conclusion: Thomas Piketty's Capital in the 21st Century is a crucial book that incisively analyzes the problem of economic inequality, detailing its historical background and current state. The book demonstrates the law that, when the rate of return on capital R exceeds the economic growth rate, G, wealth concentration intensifies, and economic inequality expands. This law has consistently held true, historically, indicating the absence of natural mechanisms to reduce inequality. To address economic inequality, Piketty proposes the introduction of a progressive capital tax. This tax system, which imposes higher rates on substantial capital, facilitates wealth redistribution. Implementing this tax requires international cooperation and high financial transparency. But Piketty argues it is the most effective method. Through this book, it is clear that solving economic inequality is not just an ethical issue, but crucial for sustainable economic growth. Wealth concentration exacerbates social inequality and threatens economic stability. Making comprehensive measures to address economic inequality, an urgent task in modern society. Capital in the 21st Century, serves as an essential reference not only for economists, but also for understanding and addressing economic inequality in modern society. By reading this book, readers can gain a deeper understanding of the reality and impact of economic inequality, considering concrete measures to improve social stability and fairness.